Every so often we come across a service in Dubai that we didn't know existed, that reminds us of the wonderful people and initiatives that have started here. Assia Riccio has a background in training and personal development in the corporate world. 2 years ago, she set up an organisation in Dubai called Evolving Women. It sets out to improve the employability of unemployed women from developing countries through vocational training and international work experience.
Welcome to Dubai Works, a business podcast about the innovators, the products, the services, and trending topics, loving Dubai's take on the business stories that matter. My name is Riccio. I'm the founder of Augustus Media, publishers of Lovin Dubai, Lovin Saudi, and Smashy TV. Each week, we'll be interviewing the dynamic business leaders of Dubai.
So, what exactly is Evolving Women?
So, Evolving Women is a social enterprise. We're based here in Dubai. We are registered basically for profit because there isn't a social enterprise license, but we run it as a social enterprise. That means that we generate profit, but we don't share that profit amongst shareholders.
Yeah.
Basically, we invest everything back into the business.
Yeah.
So essentially, we are a social enterprise, and we work with organizations in the UAE that have a diversity and inclusion agenda, and we provide them a solution that is socially responsible. So instead of, if they have a goal of recruiting more women, then instead of looking at the market locally, why don't you give opportunities to women from rural areas in Africa who are unemployed, have no access to education, and by doing so you can help them become contributors to the economy.
Amazing.
So that's the concept.
How did it come about? What was the light bulb moment, and what's the connection with Africa?
So I come from a family of people who have always been sort of giving back to the community, and my mama was actually a victim of abuse when she was a child, and she was taken out of education at the age of 9. So she raised us believing that that's not right, and usually the youngest girls in the family are the most vulnerable, and they're the ones who usually are taken out of education and sort of put into labor. So so with that background of the message that my mom has constantly given me, and
that essentially is the drive for the mission.
Yes.
To try and provide education, vocational training,
exactly, to
vulnerable women.
Yes, essentially. I mean, the way we look at it is, if you are in Europe, or if you are in more developed countries, if you go to school, you might be able to have a study abroad program. You might be able to be considered to actually go abroad and experience the industry in the different country. What we're doing, we are bringing the opportunity to women who actually have very limited education, and they will never be able to go on a study abroad program.
Okay.
That's what we're doing.
Okay.
And when I went to when I traveled into Africa, I realized that actually what my mom was experiencing in the 50s was still a reality in Africa.
Wow.
So I said, great, that's a market for me to actually implement a solution that is welcomed by the private sector, that can finance also my work there. There was a summit for social change.
Okay.
And they basically flew us there to represent Dubai on sustainability and women's empowerment.
Yeah.
And that was an
Amazing.
Incredible achievement. I mean,
Great,
that was just validating the point. The Dubai Chamber,
Okay.
because we're part of the Dubai Chamber,
Yeah.
they basically introduced us to Proudly Dubai when they were looking for entrepreneurs to go to France.
Yeah.
For this summit for change.
Amazing.
So we were selected out of the group of entrepreneurs they had.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Together with 3 more. So
Yeah.
we all flew there, and that was an incredible thing to do, especially because now it was not only changing perception in Africa, but the Dubai government was also noticing us
Yeah.
doing a job in that area.
Love it, yeah.
And I'm like, hang on a sec, a year ago I didn't think this was going to happen. But yeah, just
That's great.
it's double effect.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
It's great to see how they support it that way. Cool. So this is kind of in the service industry. What are the key criteria for selecting women? Do they need a base level of education, or are there any requirements?
So they have to be between the age of 18 and 40, first of all, because we believe that's still an employable age when they go back to their own countries. We don't mind they usually have a sort of diploma, but of course the schools they go to are not as good as, I mean, the quality of education is not as good as what we know. So although some of them have diplomas, they're not as ready as we are.
Interesting. When you're preparing them to go back to their own country, does that mean that they're on a kind of a type of a visa, or is it a placement? And are you connected with groups and entities, or is there some sort of government program that you're involved in?
So we do work with governments. So we essentially, for each project we create an ecosystem. So there is us, foundations, government and private sector in Dubai. We have to bring government on board because as soon as you go into a rural area and you want to move, there is mobility of women, you need to be transparent about what you're doing. There is trafficking, so you have to be careful with it. So we bring government on board, and essentially we sell the project to governments.
Yeah, but you're officiating kind of in lots of areas. There might be human trafficking, there might be people here that don't have visas, there might be things, the support system, and people mightn't be aware that this sort of support is there.
Yes, yeah, and the visa and contract, that's something we take very seriously. In fact, the ladies are not able to fly to Dubai before we have contracts from the hotels and visa, because we want to make sure that they know where they're going. And we also work here with their embassies. So if I work with the government in Ghana, we work here with the embassy of Ghana. So there is, again, there is a channel, communication channel.
Interesting. What sort of, since 2017, what's happened? What inspiring moments, and what have you seen since? Are there success stories? I'm sure there's many.
Every day is as challenging as inspiring. Let's put it that way. Everything. I mean, gosh, lots of things, because it's a very new. It's a new way to do business. At least for me, or what I'm used to. I've always worked in the corporate world, so it's very different to run a business, thinking that the social element comes almost before the profit element, right? I think, I mean, there are lots of moments I can recall. I mean, one was when we became one of the first micro enterprises with less than 10 employees to become signatory to the UN Global Compact. And then when we
what does that mean? Signatory to the UN?
So basically, the United Nations. I don't know if you're aware of these 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
Okay.
So the UN has an agenda for to achieve basically sustainability, and they have 17 goals to be achieved in order for the world to be more sustainable. Private sector included, especially private sector. So that means that every year we report back to the UN Global Compact and tell them what we have done to achieve 3 of these 17 goals. One is on gender diversity, equality of opportunities. One is on equality of women, and one is on economic development. So we report back to them with all our indicators on what we have achieved on these goals. Wow. And that was a great achievement, because we are a very small social enterprise.
How did you get recognized for that? And
after the first project we launched, it was we sort of we trained a group of 10 women, and we found employment to all of them. Some of them in their country, and some of them came here, and that was. Considering there was one woman going there and doing this, it was quite. It was noticed by government, especially in Africa, because there are lots of organizations going to Africa, investing lots of money, and they accomplish a lot in terms of education, but not necessarily in terms of employment. So you end up with so many schools that have been sort of built, lots of educated people, but there is still a missing link to employment. And what we did with those 10 women, we had the education model plus employment. So that's what was noticed by government and then by the UN.
Okay, because of the project. What was the most kind of complete project that you've done from start to finish to date?
I mean, we have 8 women in Dubai now. They joined in September. So we will not. I mean, we are measuring now the impact. We are measuring now all the indicators, the progress. Yes, but that won't be for the next. they will go back in 2 years, in about 18 months.
So how long training did they receive before they came?
Overall, it's about 3 months,
Yeah.
because we do face-to-face training when we're there, but then we also have online training for them. So we work with Accenture. So
Yeah.
Accenture provides us all the online training, and there is also another platform called Kudo, and they provide all the online training. So while they're waiting for all the visas and employment contract to be ready, they still continue online education.
Okay, interesting. So these women have gone through the Evolving Women program. They've been working in the hospitality sector in Dubai for the
Yes.
past 8 months or so.
Yes, and we decided to, I mean, hospitality is of course my background.
Yeah.
But, one thing that you learn in the industry is customer service. And once you go back home, you can work anywhere really. You know,
Yeah.
it's one of those transferable skills. You can use anywhere. You can work in a post office, you can open your own business.
Yeah.
So we found that, especially at that entry level, that skills is really important.
It must be very rewarding to see the improvement and see the progress.
Yeah, it's incredible how you see them. You know, when you meet them, they're so. The way I look at them, they're very. I mean, they're really strong women, because they have decided to make a positive change in their lives. Whether if you know, it's about joining the program, whether it's about giving themselves another chance. So for me, they're very strong women, and yet when you meet them, they look so fragile. And then they come here, and you see them completely completely different.
Yeah. And going back to your earlier point about the perception of Dubai, does their perception change? And are the people that you're working with, do they see Dubai in a different light?
I think they do. I mean, we now talk to people who in the past have sort of we are basically now doing business with people in Africa who a few years ago wouldn't even consider our proposal because it was in the Middle East. And they were quite skeptical because they didn't know. First of all, we don't charge the girls, so they were really skeptical. It was almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
So there was already
usually there might be adverts for visas to Dubai.
Exactly.
You have to pay this,
so
and you're trapped.
You don't charge the girls. You take them to the Middle East. You know what's happening here.
Yeah,
so,
amazing.
But because we have some people have believed in what we were doing, so we managed to bring women to Dubai. So now they're looking at what they're doing and the progress. So now they are engaging with us again.
Yeah. So the plans for a few years will be to kind of grow on it. But you can grow. You can definitely evolve even without the technology.
Yes. So one thing that I always think about is that for me, every time I bring a woman to Dubai, every time a woman comes to Dubai, for me that woman is an agent of change. So the moment she goes back, she can affect other lives. So what we want to do in each country we work in, we want to build evolving communities hubs where these women can go back and train other people on what they've learned in Dubai.
Which are the countries that you've worked with today?
So Ghana, we're launching in South Africa, and hopefully Rwanda this year as well.
Okay, amazing. Evolving Women is kind of very zeitgeisty. It's very kind of topical in the last 5 years or so about female empowerment. There's some wonderful initiatives in this region globally. There's there's international days that people celebrate. We've seen lots of great initiatives. Do you feel that movement? Is what you're doing separate to that? Do you feel that there's a lot of interest and support for such organizations as yours?
I think there is a lot done within organizations, and many organizations look at women's empowerment as a certain number of women they have to be promoted.
Ticking a box and things like that, and equality.
Yeah, I mean, some organizations do it really, really well, and they do look at high potential and they grow them into leaders. That's absolutely fine. What is lacking at the moment, from what I see, and not only in the region, I'm not talking about Dubai as the UAE as a region. There should be more organizations looking at the business to actually empower women outside, women in the community. So how can they use their businesses to actually not think only of diversity and inclusion as within your organization, but also what can you do as a business?
What sort of social impact you can have?
Exactly.
And, give back to the community.
Yes, exactly. Okay. I mean, we work with women not because, not because it's not only about women's empowerment. It's because in that part of the world, women do drive communities.
Yeah.
they do, you know, and not only if they understand the importance of education, they're usually the ones who decide whether or not the children go into education.
Cool. Well, Assia, thank you so much for coming. It's opened up a new area for us and for me, and it's wonderful to see the initiative, and, you know, congratulations on what you've achieved so far, and best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much.